But after the video surfaced on Twitter, PBS, a tax-funded news outlet, announced that Beller no longer works for their organization and that his statements don't reflect the network's views. With me now to break this down is the executive director of the American Principles Project, Terry Schiller. Welcome, Terry.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Kara. Really glad to be here.
Great. So what were your thoughts when you first saw this disturbing video?
Well, listen, Kara, I have 5 kids myself, and I can tell you firsthand that there's no more sacred relationship than that between a parent and their children. And the idea that the chief counsel for PBS, which is a publicly funded station, is talking about taking away our children simply because of who we voted for in the last presidential election, it's not just preposterous, it's scary. This is someone, your counsel is supposed to keep you out of trouble. They're supposed to keep you grounded. And this is someone that's radical. He's risen to the very top of PBS. We need a full audit of PBS. We need to see how many other radicals are out there.
And I found it kind of interesting that Beller in this undercover clip that he mentions Sesame Street so much when talking about these enlightenment camps for the Republican kids to go to. It's almost as if he's admitting in a sense that a lot of what the content they're putting out already has some propaganda value to it.
No, that's it. You're exactly right, Kara. That these people, the progressives, have been going after our children for decades. It's not just PBS either, and it's not just Sesame Street. They're in our schools. You know, we uncovered earlier this past year in 2020 that the Democrats and the progressives had put the 1619 Project in almost every school across the country. And this is a curriculum that teaches kids that America wasn't founded in 1776 on liberty and justice and equal protection. No, it was founded on slavery in 1619 and oppression. They teach our kids that America is evil. This is very deep, it's very broad, and it's very serious, and we need to take back our country and protect our kids.
I heard some people joking that if only Beller had kept his mouth shut and let the kids grow up and go to college, that the college would do the re-educating for him. No camps necessary.
No, that's exactly right. When I first heard him talking about this, I thought, well, they already have their re-education camps to brainwash our kids. They're called schools. But in all seriousness, it's never enough for them. It's not enough for them that they make us pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars for college to brainwash our own kids and turn them against us and our country. It's not enough for them that they control the public school system and a lot of private schools. It's not enough, and it's never enough for progressives. They're always going to want more, and they want more and more and more, and they want our kids now.
Should PBS still continue to receive taxpayer funding, especially everything that's come up? Because it's hard for me to believe that Beller, as vocal as he was on this undercover camera, that his colleagues didn't know this. I feel like they did know his opinions and his belief. And what scares me is that means that perhaps there's a lot more employees at PBS who do agree with him to some degree and let him stay.
Well, Kara, let's keep in mind, this is the principal counsel for PBS, right? So, he's the top guy that's supposed to keep them in line and keep them in compliance, and someone above him hired him. This goes all the way to the top. I love PBS. I grew up on it. I grew up with Sesame Street. I grew up with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I think there's a lot of good stuff there, but we do need to go in and we need to fire some more people. We need to fire the person who hired him, because they obviously knew that this is a radical guy who believes some pretty radical stuff.
And he even talks about that if Biden were to have lost the election, that they should go out with Molotov cocktails and attack the White House. I don't know about you, but that sounds like insurrection to me. That sounds pretty seditious, especially with everything we're seeing right now with how Democrats are going after President Trump, who said to peacefully and to patriotically protest Congress, peacefully using your First Amendment rights. And here we have Beller saying, yeah, let's bring back the Molotov cocktails and send President Trump back to his bunker, essentially.
Kara, don't forget, every major city in the country, including our nation's capital, and every state was preparing for massive riots, and not just riots, but absolute mayhem if President Trump won. What he said there about throwing Molotov cocktails at the White House was not just him. It's the entire Antifa, Black Lives Matter progressive movement. And we need to be very clear about that and remind people, we were preparing for serious unrest and destruction across this country. We at American Principles Project, we're building the NRA for families, right? We have over 350,000 people that are part of our activist network. Not one of them, I can't imagine one of them ever doing any acts of violence or terror, but I can imagine a lot of progressive activists doing that.
And here, as we're talking about PBS, also media going hand in hand with big tech and a lot of the censorship that we're seeing right now. So before I let you go, I'd like to give you the floor to talk a little bit about the petition, the American Principles Project that they have about big tech. I believe you've reached about 40,000 signatures already.
Well, we actually just cleared the 45,000 signatures, so we're up to 45,000 and growing. But basically, our petition is very simple. Reform big tech, rein them in, hold them to a First Amendment standard. Big tech should not be more powerful than the President of the United States, and they shouldn't be able to work in conjunction with each other. Right now, they're a monopoly. We saw what they just did to Parler, and there's a real strong movement, and a lot of Americans, at least 45,000, I bet there's over 1 million. We'll see as we keep pushing this petition along. But Americans are really upset about this. They know it's not right, and they need to get broken up, and we need to rein them in with Section 230 reform.
Especially because a lot of them, I'd wager, have views like Beller. So it's very important what your petition is asking for right now. But Terry, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yep, thanks, Kara. Thanks so much.
And up next, the world doesn't stop just because the politicians in D.C. can't get their acts together. We'll discuss